Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about non-verbal intelligence, one of my absolute favorite topics. Looking at these body language skills is really important in the workplace, but also in our personal lives as well. So we're going to talk about 3 skills that are really, really important, just to give you a really quick understanding. Number 1 skill is conscious curiosity. Number 2 skill is comfort to discomfort switch. Understanding in a conversation when someone moves from comfort to discomfort is such a key thing. And of course, skill number 3 is the rule of 3, which is never take one piece of body language or one signal or one part of a person and make massive assumptions. The rule of 3 protects us from doing this. Exceptional people universally have this skill of non-verbal intelligence. They practice their body language skills over and over and over again in business meetings, in their personal relationships, on the sports field, in so many different areas, that they have a great understanding of how to stay engaged with people, when to use some positive leverages, when to listen, when to speak. And there's one part of the body that never lies. I wonder if you can think about what that is. And I'll give you a hint right now. If you're on a Zoom meeting, you cannot see that part of the body. Well, it's the feet. The feet never lie because they're linked straight up the central nervous system of the spine and into the lower parts of the brain, where our feet immediately show interest, anxiety, happiness, disinterest, whatever. So this gentleman at the top here on the right hand side, he is half in the conversation and half out of the conversation. Now, to me, in my coaching sessions and in my training, I make sure that I'm trying to keep people engaged. I want to make sure I can see people's feet, and there's so much there about feet which we can discover and talk about. But if you want to have a great starting point on learning how to understand people's body language, do some research around the feet, because that way you can learn about body language without looking overly obvious about what you're trying to do. Here's a great example here. Who do you think's in charge here? I mean, feet elevated like that tells me everything. And really that picture there is a great picture to study in terms of body language. You've got the guy on the left there leaning on the chair. One gentleman's got his hands in his pocket, another one's got his hands on his hips. There's a whole bunch of non-verbal cues and communication going on there that we could look at. Now, obviously it's a still picture, so you're not getting the baseline behaviors, you're not getting the context, you're not getting a sequence of information. But just as an experiment to have a look at that picture, ask yourself, well, what meaning am I putting on each one of those particular people? What meaning am I putting on this guy in the corner over here with his arms on his hips? Because the meaning that we put on things is absolutely critical for the way our relationship dynamics go. And we can be very wrong with the meaning we put on things if we jump to conclusions, if we don't see things in context, if we don't have baseline behaviors understood. So this whole area of body language is really important to take some time to learn about it, study it, watch it, and over a period of time your relationships will improve and you'll know how to ask the right questions and all that. So let's look at the first skill here, conscious curiosity. So this is what I was leaning towards in the previous slide, is not jumping to conclusions. Curiosity gives us that access to information that will lead us to more resourceful and life-giving conclusions. Criticism also gives us access to information of, we have stereotypes, we have cognitive biases, we draw in our trauma. There's a whole bunch of things that we can do when we have a critical lens rather than a curious lens in body language. I love this picture of this kid here. He's looking through, that's the sort of way I try and see myself. So this deliberate curiosity is like an investigator who gives us situational awareness of our environment, awareness of how individuals are behaving in that particular context, awareness of our and other people's competency based. So that's really important to understand when you're in a room, particularly in a professional setting. You're trying to work out who is the most competent. Who is the person who's got the skills, who's got the competency that we need to throw the ball to so we can get the best result for the team. This starting point means that we can curiously resist the temptation to quickly attach assumptions, patterns, meanings, and explanations. Conscious curiosity is number one skill here, and you get that by learning about body language, by studying, by keeping quiet, by watching, by opening up your senses and practicing seeing what's there through a curious lens. I think the second skill that's really important to talk about here is the comfort and discomfort switch. Now, a lot of people go down the wrong track here and they start saying, they start with a place of criticism, which is this person lying or are they telling the truth? Now, if you've got that starting point, you have a critical lens. That's not the main part of things. The most important way to look at this from a conscious, curious lens is to ask yourself in the conversation when someone shifts from comfort to discomfort. That's really, really important. And comfort to discomfort switch is seen in all parts of the body. And when you understand that this is one of the key things you're looking for, you can put a little note on your page and you can come back to asking some more detailed questions around that. So, for example, if you're doing an interview with someone and as you ask a particular question, they look almost annoyed that you're asking these difficult questions, and then they feel annoyed that they have to answer it, and they feel annoyed that you know for sure that there's some discomfort there, and there could be some underlying dishonesty there. There may or may not be. It could just be they're nervous for the interview. You don't know. So making sure that you get a sense that this skill here, comfort and discomfort switch, is just profound when it comes to our personal and professional relationships, to understand when someone shifts from that. So you can see there, the picture on the left, this is people feeling uncomfortable in a meeting. Now, the leader could just keep going on and think, or they could address that discomfort and ask some questions and find out what's happening and get people re-engaged. There's no point in continuing on with a meeting that's happening like that. You want the meeting to be like the one on the right-hand side, where people are engaged, leaning forward, open expressions, good posture, all those sorts of things. Let's have a little bit of a look at some science now. So here's the 3 layers of the brain: the lizard brain, which is that base part of the brain, the most primitive part of it, which is motivated by pleasure and pain, and that goes down the central nervous system to the feet, which is why the feet are so important when it comes to determining whether someone is enjoying the conversation or they're finding the conversation painful and they just want to, half of them wants to go and half of them are tapping their watch, whatever they're doing. The middle part, the intermediate, the monkey brain, is motivated by reward and punishment. And that's the very emotional part of the brain. And when those two parts of the brain are in main function in a conversation, that makes us very present. That makes us very mindful and makes us so mindfulness practices sort of sit around here. But there's another part of the brain which is really important, which is the neurocortex, which is all about self-direction, self-improvement, and transcendent purpose. Now, when you're in a meeting or a conversation and you're feeling like the leader or some people in the team are stopping you moving forward in the direction you want to be going in, or stopping you improving, or jeopardizing your sense of personal mission or purpose in a particular role, well, then you will display discomfort. You will begin to display displeasure around that. And so we've got to understand that these 3 parts of the brain are operating all together at the same time. But obviously, when we're put under huge amounts of stress, the higher parts of the brain sort of begin to drop off, and more focus and more energy is put into the intermediate part, the monkey and the lizard brain, so we can get out of that painful, punishing sort of situation and move into something that's more pleasurable and rewarding. I think this is a really good way to finish up with the 3 skills, and the rule of 3 is really important, because we are so tempted as meaning-seeking creatures to come up with conclusions very quickly from the lower parts of the brain. And it's really interesting that those lower parts of the brain we talked about before, they are very, as you can see, they're quite black and white in their function. It's reward or punishment. It's sort of good or bad. It's helpful or not helpful, And so the top part of the brain is where I'm trying to encourage you as a person who's learning about body language and wanting to improve your relationships to stay from the top part of the brain, because that means you'll ask more questions, you'll engage the other parts of your brain in alignment. Now with this photo here, we could look at this lady's finger and say straight away that she's being rude. Well, if you just look at that one place without looking at the other parts of her body, you will come up with the wrong conclusion, and it will negatively impact on your relationship. You will not be curious enough. You will not ask the right questions. You'll not know what to do. So the rule of three is all about making sure that any conclusion you come up with is about multiple points in the body, multiple different points in the body, so that you're solving that puzzle from a curious place rather than jumping to conclusions. Because the thing is, the rule of three is all about helping us to slow down on the meaning that we are placing on a person or situation, and learning to observe, listen, ask good questions, reflect and clarify. So for the purpose of improving our relationships, improving our results together as a team, all those sorts of things. This guy on the right here, again, still pictures, we lose a lot of context, we lose sequence on all those sorts of things, but you might have some immediate judgments about this gentleman. I would step back from that and go the rule of three, and then you'll be able to engage appropriately in this situation that you find yourself in. So just in summary, the three skills are conscious curiosity, comfort and discomfort switch, and the rule of three. If you put those three skills together, you will incredibly improve the way you operate in your relationships. So, there's no point in learning this stuff without actually having a practical application. So you need to ask yourself, what is the one piece of information that was most interesting to you in this presentation? And the second thing is, what will you do to apply this into your life this week? So for you, it might be, hey, I didn't know that about the feet. Man, I'm just going to spend this week watching people's feet. And as you do that, being curious, as you do that, you'll see people's feet become comfort or discomfort. And as you see the different parts of the feet and the legs, you'll be able to use that rule of three in that situation as well. Well, thanks for being here today, and for your free PDF copy of this presentation, give me an email, matt@levelnextleadership.com. All the best to you. Take care now.